Hello, everybody. I'm back to give you another Love and Marriage Huntsville review. This is season 3, episode 9, and it is called Trouble in Paradise. It picks up where it left off last week. Tisha and Marceau are going after Kimmy a little bit about Jalen being disrespectful. Apparently, Jalen and Tisha had a text message that were going back and forth, and he was calling he was calling Tisha ma'am, and apparently the man must have sounded like, bitch, because Marceau got involved in it as well. Like, listen, that text message was disrespectful. You're taking up for him. You're always taking up for him. You never tell him when he's wrong. Kimmy was very upset about it, and she was like, yo, I correct him all the time. She even asked Maurice, who usually sits there with sitting on his hands, never saying anything. She was like, do I not correct Jalen? And he was like, you correct him every day. And he was like, in fact, she tries to tell him things to help your business be better, help you make your business better. So Marceau kept going, and you could tell that Kimmy just threw her hands in the air and was like, you know what? I agree. We're just going to end it. Because at the end of the day, you're never going to tell anybody's mama how to feel about their children. They know who their kids are. They know when they act out, whatever those things are, they know. So she's not going to have it. She's not even paying attention to him at that point. But Miss Tisha, that little lifesaver that Will Smith has in Men in Black, somebody must have came down and put it in front of her, because she became a completely different person. She apologized to Kimmy for coming at her sideways and accusing her of cursing out her mother. So she basically just says, I know that, she actually says, to be honest, I know why you don't want to be around me, why you don't want to talk to me, why you don't want to commit to living on Scott Manor, because I keep coming at you wrong, and I get it. I wouldn't want to be around me either. If you were doing that to me, I wouldn't want to be around you. So out of nowhere, Marceau is jumping up in the air, hugging her. Thank you, babe. Thank you, babe. Like she said the apology to him. And that's because that's something he's been asking her to do forever. Tisha, stop listening to your family. Stop letting her break up your relationships when you know they're wrong. And when you know you're wrong, cop to it. Like, say you're wrong. Apologize to someone sometime. Stop always acting like people got to bow to your feelings, even though you're in the wrong. So he jumps up, he tells her he thank you for apologizing to Kimmy. And then Kimmy walks over through the pool, and she grabs Tisha by the legs and she hugs her. Tisha and her are crying and, hugging it out, and Tisha kisses her on the forehead. So it seems super sincere, and hopefully we can see a turn in that relationship, because it's been very, very contentious since season 1, all because Kimmy didn't lie and say that she wasn't talking about Mel. Kimmy said both Tisha and I talk about Mel behind her back. Tisha didn't want her to tell that story, and so for the longest she's held the grudge, even though Mel has, not been paying attention to either one of them because she had her own problems, but so be it. In confessional, Marceau says it is very important to hold each other accountable and not hold people up when they're in the wrong, because I never do. And Tisha said, I know that's right, because he doesn't. She's asked Marceau several times, don't, not support me in public when I'm wrong. Let me know at home. And he tells her absolutely not. So there's that. She made him happy by doing that. And I think she made everybody happy, because it was a different Tisha. The next day, Kimmy and Tisha are making breakfast for the group. Everyone is there except for Destiny and Mel. When they start to, sit down to have breakfast, everyone's eating. Kimmy asks if anyone knows if Melody was going to arrive today. She's like, I miss her. I really would like for her to come. Martell says he had talked to her, but she gave him the impression that she wasn't coming, although she could have just been pulling his chain, because, she ain't trying to tell Martell her business. Maurice asked if anyone knew if Destiny was coming. And then he looks at Martell specifically. Martell says, well, I talk to her every day. And they start laughing. And I think that was Martell's way of saying, stop asking me about Destiny and Melody and whomever. I don't have the inside scoop on what they're doing. For some reason, Miss Tiffany, who needs to get in where she fits in, she hears the word talk to her every day. And Even though she said she's sitting right beside Martell, who not just moments before said, Mel told me she wasn't coming, but she could have just been lying because, you know, she doesn't want me in her business. She says, oh, you talk to your baby mama every day? And he says, well, yeah, I talk to her every day. She has my child. At this point, everybody got their eyebrows raised and they're looking like, ooh, this isn't where we want it to go, definitely. Which lets me know that Tiffany can read a room because she senses something's wrong. And when he turns around, she was like, who are you talking about? She was like, Melody. No. Oh, did I say something wrong? And he's like, yeah, Melody is not my baby mama. Melody is my ex-wife. Don't ever call her my baby mama. Which kudos to Martell for that, because Tiffany, what is your problem? Tiffany gets in confessional and says, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I mean, she has 4 of his babies. I would think that qualifies. Tiffany is exhausting. She's exhausting at this point. After breakfast, Martell is helping Kimmy clean the kitchen. And Kimmy says that they all met Martell and Melody as a couple. So they really miss seeing them together. And it is a transition for them to, you know, see them apart and how to work out the relationships between the two of them, because she likes them both. She also says that she hopes they can get back together. Martell is like, it's really way too soon to even have that conversation. We just broke up. I don't know what the future holds, but there were things that Mel did that I don't know if I can forgive. And he's still basically accusing her of having an affair on him, which she admitted to. She said, listen, I was with someone. She said they didn't have sex. But when she, you know, left Martell the first time and thought, this is it, I'm not going to be with you again, she said that she ended up talking to somebody. She said they didn't have sex, but Martell believes that that isn't true, and his little feelings are hurt because of that, even though he's been having an ongoing affair for over 5 years, and a baby has resulted from that relationship. He acknowledges that maybe he shouldn't be mad at Mel since he has this situation, but his little male ego won't allow him to, you know, make it make sense. So whatever with that as well. Kimmy says, you know, at the end of the day, if you're in a relationship with someone and you want to go out and cheat, you're in a relationship, more a marriage, you're in a marriage with someone, you want to go out and cheat, you need to let the other person know. She says she has this conversation with Maurice all the time. If you're thinking about cheating, go on ahead and leave, because I don't want to have to deal with you and whomever over there, okay? I can't promise you who I'm going to be to you or to her. So that's how that scene ends. In the next scene, we have Tiffany and Louis. They're in their room and they're FaceTiming their sons. She says the best part of them having good relationship with their exes, not the baby mama or baby daddy, but the exes, is that when they go out of town, they have a place for their kids to go. She's a weirdo. She tells Louis that she is upset with him because he decided to do some male bonding time with her son and took him to get a haircut. Now, mind you, I think her son is like in his teens. Like, for some reason, I'm feeling like he's 13, 14. So it's not his first haircut. But I guess he decided to grow his hair long and she wanted to be there for what she referred to as the big chop. And I felt that Louis kind of looked at her like, say what now? Because you sound stupid. He tried to make this, I guess, for the camera. Listen, you're gonna have some things that you miss. Would you prefer that I don't engage with your son? Or do you want me to have some moments with him where I can bond and create memories? And she was like, you're a great stepdad to my son. But, you know, I just like for you to consider me when you guys go out and do things. Anyway, they're going to need a better storyline than her missing that boy's, you know, 500th haircut, okay? Because he should have had a couple of haircuts by now that she had an opportunity to see. And the next scene, The group is hanging out in the house. They're going over their itinerary for the day. And when they do, Melody arrives. And when she walks in, she's looking pretty hot. She got a long blonde wig on, some cutoff shorts, a long kimono. And the fellas, Maurice and Marceau, kind of scream out at her like, hey, Melody, kind of thing. She comes in. Martel looks over at her, and he has a weird look on his face. I don't know if it's shock or surprise, but then he kind of smiles, which was good. In confessional, he says that he was surprised to see her. However, he's glad that she came because it was good to see her, okay? Put that in your pipe, and let's see what happens next. Melody walks around the table. She hugs, greets everybody individually, says hi to them. She walks around one side of the table, hugs the people over there. Martel is in the middle of that. She does not hug him, goes around to the other side, finish up hugging everybody over there, and then finally gets around to Martel and gives him a little side hug. Hi, Martel, who seems pretty, happy that she did it. So very happy, very accepting that she acknowledged him, said hello, and gave him a hug. So good for that. Either way, I thought it was a very grown-up moment for her. Mel then asked if she had a room or if she needed to stay somewhere else. She's very pleasant when she's asking. The group all jokes that she's going to need to share a room. And she knows what they're doing, that they're playing little, elementary games. She just smiles and like, who am I going to share a room with? And they're like, Martel, of course. Martel doesn't say anything. She was like, oh, but she just sits there quiet until somebody pipes in. They're still joking. Martel finally breaks the ice and says, yo, there's 2 extra bedrooms down this way, kind of points where it is. And she was like, great. She asked where Destiny was, if she arrived yet. They said no. And she goes and takes her luggage back to one of the rooms. When she comes back, she goes to where I think it's Tisha and Tiffany. They're sitting there drinking shots. The fellas are in another room. They're playing foosball. And Tisha asked if she was okay with Martel being there. And Melody was like, well, I didn't know he was coming. I assumed he was because he's y'all friend, but that's a silly question to ask me now that I'm here. Like, why didn't you ask me before you invited him or before I actually made it here, if that was what you were concerned about? In confessional, Tisha says, well, Mel should have saw that his name was on the email list. Well, I'm sure she did. That's not the point. The point is, if you're trying to play the concerned friend about whether or not she's okay with him being there, that's a question you ask before the invite. That's what I think she was saying to her. But oh well, so swell. Melody just sums everything up with, she's going to be on her best behavior unless she's triggered. So we'll see. In the next scene, they're all heading out to the group activities. The men are on one bus, the ladies are on another. On the bus with the men, they're kind of teasing Martel a little bit about being on the trip with Melody, asking him if he has any feelings about it, things like that. Martel is actually honest, and he basically says that he accepts where they are now, that they went back and forth before they filed for divorce to see if they can work out the relationship, and clearly they could not. So he has to accept the place that they're in, and he's still learning who to be around Mel now. She's learning who to be around him. But they still have moments where they're not cool with each other. Marceau then chimes in with his own feelings, and he starts talking about how marriage is hard. And he said it's hard to be divorced and it's hard to be married, so it doesn't matter how you look at it. But he said he figured out in life, after he was married, I'm assuming, I don't know, that he's made 2 big mistakes, and that was mistaking money for success and mistaking sex for love. He said the best thing that he was ever told about marriage in his life was on his wedding night. His aunt, who had been married for 27 years, said, listen, basically things are going to get tough, but you have kids. And for her, she stayed in her marriage, and it was the best thing she could have ever did, because she looked back and she was like, I was happy for those kids because I stayed in my relationship for my kids. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, The truth of the matter is, according to Marceau, and he's right, there's going to be a lot of times in a marriage where you are going to say, I don't want to be in this marriage. I want a divorce. And that can be on year 1, 2, year 7, year 12, year 15. You're going to have those moments. But there has to be something that ties you or commits you to that relationship. It could be your kids, it could be your home, it could be whatever that happens to be. There has to be something. And then, of course, you have to find a way to resolve whatever those issues are. Marceau says he's had plenty of reasons to divorce Tisha, but at the end of the day, he has his children to say, those kids have kept me in my relationship with their mother. So the other two fellas, now I think that was Maurice and Louis, both of them are on their second marriage, so they've been divorced before. They're kind of listening to him and they agree with him that, yeah, there are a lot of divorceable moments in a relationship, but sometimes you just get to a place where you can't stay, and you have to accept that too. On the women's bus, the women are asking Melody how she's handling things with Martell and if she thought that they could be friends. She basically said, we're taking it one day at a time, but right now she doesn't see Martell as his friend. As her friend. She takes her relationships or friendships very seriously, and right now, Martell has violated every, criteria for being a friend. He's violated that. So, Tiffany brings up, not Tiffany, excuse me. Oh yeah, it was Tiffany. Tiffany said, well, I thought you guys were in counseling. And Melody corrects her, yeah, we're in counseling, but that counseling is for co-parenting. We're trying to be better co-parents to the kids. But she was like, everything else, we're just taking it day by day. And she basically lets them know that she just completed her video not too long ago. And she said one of the weirdest things is that there's goals that she is achieving by herself that she thought she would achieve with Martell. That being a singer is something she's always wanted to be, that she and Martell talked about it, and she saw him by her side when she got to that place. And now she's doing it without him, and she said, I guess that's just what God had in store for me. So that was really interesting because we'll see in the next scene, they bring it back up. They finally get, the buses finally get to the group activity, and they're driving, I think it's called a slingshot. It's those three-wheeled motorized vehicles. Destiny arrives when they are ready to go off on their little drive in the slingshots. So she arrives before they get the vehicles, and Mel and Destiny had already said they were going to be partners. Melody had said last episode, I do not want to partner with Martell in any of the activities. So Destiny knows what her job on this trip is supposed to be. So she gets in beside Mel, she partners with Mel, and then Martell asks if they could get a 4-seater so that him, Mel, and Destiny could ride together because Melody can't drive. And Melody kind of squints her eyes like, what do you mean I can't drive? And she's like, I'm not driving with you, okay? So Martell said, you're not a good driver. Destiny said, I have to agree with Martell on this. You're not a good driver. Mel says she hasn't hit anything in a long time, and Martell tells her, the kids told me you hit something 2 weeks ago, so I don't know what you qualify as a long time, but 2 weeks ago was pretty recent, basically. They all get into their cars, all the husband and wives, they get into their cars. Martell is driving solo, and you can tell he feels a little bit rejected because he's by himself and he does not like to do things by himself. And I think Melody pointed that out a couple of seasons ago, that Martell does not like to do things by himself. He needs a partner. Martell attempts to get in his car, and those shorts he was wearing rides up in the worst way, and so he's a little bit uncomfortable. He jumps out and he points down to Louis like, big man, how you get into the car? Because Louis has to be about 3 times bigger than Martell. The only difference is Louis is wearing some comfy clothes, okay? Martell, on the other hand, is wearing some pretty tight clothes, and he's heard all the internet chatter about how tight his clothes are, because he says in confessional, yeah, I gained 15 pounds and I haven't bought any new clothes yet. So he's still squeezing his new 15-pound weight body, the extra 15 pounds of weight he gained, into his old clothes. So it's gonna hurt. I don't know how long that drive was, but when he got out and he was pulling his pants out of his behind, I was like, Martell, you're not gonna be, there's no way you're gonna drive to wherever you're going. But it looks like they did. So he becomes a good sport. He gets in the car, he's woohooing it up. And the next time we see them, it is dark and they are on some sort of landing that's overlooking all the lights in at the bottom of Las Vegas. And it's super, super beautiful. Everybody is taking selfies of themselves with the city lights in the background. And again, Martell is by himself. Melody says, Martell, find someone to take a picture with, because me and Destiny are a couple. We're partners. So she's kind of pouring the salt in the wound, because she knew that it hurt his feelings that they didn't drive with him, and she wanted to let him know I didn't forget, basically. Then the next scene, we see Tisha telling her brother-in-law, Maurice, we're going to do 2 separate group trips tomorrow. The girls are going to be on one, the boys on the other. But I need you to keep an eye on Marceau, because he is with a newly divorced Martell, and I don't trust the two of them together. They seem like they can get themselves into some trouble, which again lets us know that Marceau was out in the streets with Martell when Martell was in the streets. We already knew it, but she keeps driving it home for us and letting us know, even though she keeps lying, my husband ain't doing nothing. My husband ain't doing nothing. Then what are you concerned about? At the end of the day, Maurice is like, is that why you took him to counseling? Because you got some concerns about XYZ? Is he going to go back? She says he's not. He's not going back to counseling. They haven't scheduled a new appointment. However, Maurice agrees and says, I will keep an eye on him and, whatever I can do to help. So that's good to know. Back to Martell and Melody. Melody asks if she can speak to Martell. She asked where her kids were, because it was his weekend. He's here, so where are the kids? And he says, my mama has them. Then she follows up and says, I was shooting my video. And he was like, oh, that bullshit? And she, looks at him. She doesn't start any mess with him, though. She was like, yeah, that BS, basically. Yeah, the video's BS, that one. When I was shooting, I was talking to Brittany. We did it at her house. And Brittany, I apologize on behalf of the both of us, because you had said some things about Brittany that, required an apology, telling her that she was incapable of taking care of our children. Martell, for whatever reason, that just drives him over the ledge. So he's like, I never said that, and shut the F up, and a whole lot of stuff just start pouring out of his mouth. He's in a mood. So Melody comes back at him with the same energy. You shut the F up. And he looks over at her and he was like, okay, well, just keep effing with your little rinky-dink MF. Your little rinky-dink MF, or your little rinky-dink son of a bitch. She said one or the other, which was, I think, like a dig at Melody's new boyfriend. But anyway, after that, the gloves were off. They were just going back and forth with each other. Martell was accusing her of bad parenting, and Melody was whipping her hair back and forth and gyrating to her new song and letting her know, this song is happening, baby. This video is happening. You don't have to like it, but I love it. Maurice was trying to calm Martell down. He's physically huffing and puffing and spinning out of his little holds and stuff, acting like he was going to get physical with somebody. Melody, the girls are telling Melody to cut it out. Can't you see that Martell is upset? At the end of the day, Melody was just pissed. She got into her slingshot and drove off in the wind. And that was that. That's how it ended. So next week, it's going to be more of the same. It looks like everybody's fighting next week. So I can't wait to watch, and I will see y'all all then. Bye-bye.